This is VTOL VR. Just got released on Steam Early Access, and it is quite polished for what it is. I would call it sim light, and I'm assuming it's based on the Unity engine, but I have no idea. Just based on the aesthetic, it looks quite Unity-like. It is really quite well done and well thought out. You can think of the cockpit as maybe a 125% scale of a standard military cockpit. In DCS, you're probably looking at a width of about here, a natural cockpit wall, and then in VTOL VR you've got this extra space because most things in the cockpit are enlarged to facilitate interaction in VR and also visibility. Everything's really quite easy to read. You don't have the typical issue of readability that you have in, say, DCS. Because of that enlargement, it really helps out. The only thing that, well, I wouldn't even say I can't read it, but I was going to say the APU RPM dial, appears to be the smallest of things to read, and it's really not that difficult to read. The controls themselves are the most interesting aspect of the cockpit in the way that you interact with them. You have to engage the grip to use the controls. Now, with the controls, I feel as though there should probably be a mechanism to say double grip, and then so it's sticky. Oh, look at that. You can do that. Learn something new every day. Right. So that's interesting. Huh. It is a toggle. Ah, okay. So it seems as though if you toggle grip quickly, it'll make it sticky. But if you grip it like you would something you're holding, and then you release, it'll release. So it's quick grip to toggle, and long grip to make it non-sticky. That's cool. Okay, that's excellent. I didn't know that. So there you go. All right. So the other thing to note is that the rudders are controlled by a twist on the joystick throttle, like your lower end joysticks, like your Logitech series, that sort of thing. And it would be good actually if you could bring your own rudders to the party. That would be quite nice, and then disengage the twist rudder. But that raises issues around, well, what if you brought your HOTAS into this? And I feel like, I hate to say it, but maybe the novelty would be taken away if you were to use your HOTAS, because a lot of the interactions and all that sort of thing that you need to do are part and parcel of what makes this kind of fun. And by using a HOTAS, you're kind of removing that interactive component, which, where something like DCS, because there are so many controls that you need to worry about and so many different systems that are modeled, you need a HOTAS to be able to quickly access things that may not be as readily accessible trying to do it with a mouse, say. Whereas because you've got your hands here, and there aren't as many controls, I feel like on the one hand I'd love to have my HOTAS. On the other, I feel like it would take away from, well, the novelty and the purity of what the developer's going for with this. So let's move on to starting it up. It's all fairly intuitive. There aren't any tutorial missions at this point, but the if you have any experience within DCS, the flow of starting things up and the locations of cockpit components are all quite intuitive. So, for example, the battery, which apparently was already on and is now not, or something. Let's see if we can start it up. Anyway, the startup process seems quite straightforward. I actually feel like because of the nature of this sim, it would actually kind of be good if stuff like the APU and the battery could probably be broken down into a single component. It's cute, but kind of pointless. But that's just a personal thing, you know. So that's kind of interesting that when I was playing with the battery, I was expecting the battery light to come on when I flicked it on, but it was only when I engaged the APU that the battery light came on. That's a bit strange, but let's continue. Unlike with DCS, you don't have to spool them up one at a time or anything like that. You can just go nuts, and once the engines settle, you can... Oh, jeez! Oh, that's not good! Oh, fuck! And we're upside down. Oh, that's probably because of this guy. Yeah. About that. That was a fuck up. Let's start that again.
Eject. Engine failure.
Holy
Flight
shit.
assist failure. Eject. Hydraulic failure. Electrical failure. Eject.
Well, attempt number 2, shall we say, didn't go very well.
Eject.
What
Engine
the hell
failure.
is going on?
Flight assist failure. Eject. Hydraulic failure.
So, back in the pit. That was interesting. Right. So it turns out with the battery, it must have been because I was messing around with stuff, but the light should be on without the APU. But there you go. Alright, let's try this again. Within the game itself, you've got an external view that people watching on a flat screen monitor can watch. And you can control that from within the cockpit, which I think is an excellent touch. And so right now I'm still in the pit, but I can tell that the spectator view has changed. I have no idea what it's looking at. I don't know whether a picture-in-picture would be possible within this screen to show what it's actually displaying in the spectator camera, but I'll just turn that off now. Right, let's turn that on. The HUD is quite good. It's got a lot of information on it. What you would expect from a modern heads-up display, plus a lot of information regarding the vertical takeoff capability of the aircraft. Without further adu, I'm not going to try a catapult takeoff on this go. I'll save that for next time. I'll take that off now. just take off and land and talk about some stuff. Punching out isn't as easy as you would expect. It's because of the interaction zone for controls, especially when you feel like you need to eject quickly. The natural grip area for your hand doesn't always relate quite so well to where you actually want to grip. I mean, right now that's easy. I can, I've got time to think about it. But when you're rushed and the whole world's spinning, it is interesting trying to eject. Right, let's take off. Toggle grip, yeah. Oh shit! I'm good at braking this thing. Oh gee. The transition to forward flight is interesting as well. I don't know what that clanging is, but...
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
The controls are quite accurate. They don't tend to glitch out all that often. The biggest issue with the controls are, well, keeping control. So using the grip system, it's not immediately straightforward in terms of, letting go of the grip. Sometimes you'll do it accidentally. Sometimes you'll want to let go of the grip and it won't let you go. So that's a bit of an interesting one. Other than that though, I mean, in terms of control over the aircraft, it's quite good. Really, really nicely done. You do find yourself looking over to the control when you want to interact with it, rather than having it, because your hand is not, what's the phrase, because your hand isn't bound to anything, with the joystick, because you tend to rest it on your right thigh, it's quite easy to let go and pull it back again. It's very easy to keep aware of your situation, is my point with the joystick, but your throttle hand tends to float in space. Let's try landing. Might as well take advantage of the fact that I'm in a VTOL aircraft and give it a bit of engine tilt. So at this distance, the aircraft carrier is a little difficult to make out details on. Can't really see where I'm lined up. I can just see the general shape of the carrier. I have no idea what angle I'm coming in at. Oh, there we go, lights have just popped in. This feels good. Let's go with this. Let's try a cat takeoff. Oh, do you have to be on the cat for that? Oh, maybe you do. Try that. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's not working. Let's, might have to take off here. Oh well. Try a landing again. Calling the ball is not really an option. You can't really make out the ball. Now, I have no idea how to do this catapult launch thing, but I'm keen to give it a go. Brakes are an interesting thing. Because you don't have those rudder pedals or foot brakes, and I have no idea how to engage the catapult. Okay, it's auto-engaged. Collision warning, probably not a good thing. Oh jeez. That was an unsuccessful catapult launch.